All right, so if my Power BI screen is visible, can everybody see the Africa table being loaded? All right, so let's continue. I'm sorry for the delay. I've been having network issues since 6 a.m., but I thought this would have been resolved by MTN. So, okay. So the first thing we want to do is load our data, load our table, Africa. So we've loaded Africa. The next thing I want to do now is load that of Europe. So I want to bring Europe. Let's see where Europe is. Okay. I'll bring Europe. Then I'm going to see a dialog box, something like a box asking me to load or transform my data. Now, I can go ahead to choose transform, but at this point, we are not looking to transform our data. We are just looking to load it first, then know if there's anything we need to use Power Query for. Right, so I will just click on load. So anytime you need to load your data, it's advisable you just load it first. Then when you look at your table using Power BI, you can then decide if you want to transform or not. So transforming your data is totally up to you. It's not always recommended, but whenever you need to do cleaning, it's recommended you transform that data. So it would go by itself. You don't need to click on that. It will come up and leave by itself. Yeah. So now that we have brought our table Africa and Europe, the next thing we want to do is go to this second pane here, which is showing data. Okay, so we click on data. So it's going to open the table for Africa. Then we'll be seeing this country, population, date, and all that. So what we want to do is click on, sorry for this. What we want to do is click on country. Okay, then we go to this data category. So data category is just, we are trying to tell Power BI that this column should be recognized as country, so that if we choose to use a map, we want the global map to recognize each country in their location. So we'll just choose country here. We already know that this is for Africa, so we don't have continent column. We just have country. All right, so for the next thing we want to do is this population column, we want to demarcate population in its thousand, which means after every 1,000, we put a comma. So which means that this is 12,889,583. But looking at it, you can't actually tell because the numbers are all joined together. So we want to click on this comma sign here. So click on comma sign. So if we look at it automatically, Power BI is going to demarcate this population by its 1,000, which means that after every 1,000, there will be a comma. So that should load pretty soon. Okay, after every 1,000, there should be a comma. Please, can we mute? If you're not talking, please mute. I'm going to pick questions later, but not now. So if you have your question, you can just type it into the chat box, okay? So the next thing we want to do is our dates automatically will be seen as dates, because from what we can see here, data type dates. So it's already recognized as dates. The next thing we want to do is highest infection count. We want to also put comma, because from what we can see, we saw that if we add all the infection counts for Burundi, it will be heading to maybe 12,000 something. But we know that there is no comma demarcating the thousands. So we want to put comma there so that it can be recognized. So we are going to do that for highest debt count. We're also going to put comma. Okay, so we are done with that. We don't want to touch population, percent of population infected, because I think in our formulas we already rounded it up to 2 decimal places. So everything will be in its second precision. So second precision also means 2 decimal places. We call it precision using Python or whatever it is you're using. So as you can see, it's in its 2 decimal place. So we don't need to change anything here. All right. So we want to go to the second table, which is Europe. So we're going to do the same thing over again for Europe. So we click on country, then we transform this to a country column. Then we also transform the population. We also transform the population to commas. Let it be separated by commas. Okay. Then the next thing we want to do is our highest infection count. We also want to put commas in that so that in its 1,000, it should be recognized that when it reaches 1,000, it should be demarcated with a comma. So we are going to do the same for our highest infection count. Okay, so I'm seeing a question here that your numbers are in text. I'm going to address that now. So for highest debt count, you should also, to move from table 1 to another, just click on the table here. You'll be seeing Africa and Europe. Click on Africa to do for Africa. Click on Europe to clean for Europe, right? So, all right, so I hope I've answered that question. So if your numbers are showing text formats, what I want you to do is click on population, wherever it is, if it's population or highest infection count. Then you are going to click on this data type just at the top here. Data type. You'll be seeing whole number, decimal number, fixed decimal number, date time. So yours is in text. What I want you to do is click on whole number. Okay, I want you to click on whole number. Then when you click on that, it's going to give you a dialog box. Maybe, are you sure you want to do this? This might cause loss of data. Click on yes, then that should automatically transform your data to whole number. Then to import just the Africa and Europe, you just click on, okay. You go to this first icon here, click on get data. Then that should give you option text/CSV. I want you to click on text/CSV. Then you select the table you want to import. So I did for Africa first, then I repeated the same process and did for Europe again. Okay, so now that we have done our cleaning on the data session, the next thing we want to do is, okay, the next thing we want to do now is to create a relationship between our tables. Okay, we want to create a relationship between our tables. So we're going to click on this third icon here, model, that says model. So the only relationship that we want to create between this table is dates, because the countries, there's no points linking the countries together. But we want to link dates together because when we change the date for Africa, we want it to also affect the date for Europe because we are doing a comparative analysis. Okay, so while we are saying the data as at 2020 for Africa, we want to also be seeing the data as at 2020 for Europe, right? So the first thing, what we are just going to go ahead to do is click on, please, if you have any questions, just put them on the chat so I can address them directly, so we can move quickly. Then we'll click on Manage Relationships, just at the top here. Please go to your model session to see this part. We'll click on Manage Relationships. Then a dialog box is going to open up. Now, the first thing you will see is there are no relationships defined yet. You just have to click on New. You're going to see a blank box like this. So the first thing you just click on is Africa. Then you go to the other one. Okay, it's automatically going to show Europe. But if you are having multiple tables, you have to select the other table which you want to create a relationship with. So why mine automatically selected Europe is because we just have two tables. So it will assume that since there are just two tables here, you want to create a relationship with the second table. So we're going to select what column do we want to create a relationship with. Automatically, we know it's dates, right? We'll click on date here. It will be highlighted. Then we'll click on dates on Europe. So we're going to look at make this relationship active. Yes, we want to make the relationship active. So we'll select that. Then if we choose on many to one relationships, we'll say that we can't apply that kind of relationship. So we're going to choose on many to many, which means if we are doing our filter for dates, it should be affecting population, country, highest infection count, highest death count, and so on and so forth. So we want it to affect all the columns in both tables. Okay. Then we're going to look at cross filter direction. We want it to have effect on both tables. So let it be filtering both tables. Okay. If we say single, Europe filters Africa, which means we are going to have to bring out the dates for Europe. So it's only filter Africa. If we say Africa filters Europe, that means the date column in Africa should only be filtering Europe. But why we are saying both is because whether we bring out the date column in Africa or the date column in Europe, we want it to filter both of them. So Africa should filter Europe and Europe should also filter Africa. So that is why we're choosing both. Then the next thing we want to do is apply security filter in both directions. Okay, so that is, okay, I don't think that's necessary. You can leave that one out. So, you can just click on OK. So once we click on OK, we'll see that the relationship has been created. Okay, we'll see that the relationship has been created. Then the next thing, I just need to check if this is recording. All right. The next thing we want to do is close this box. So we'll just wait a little for our relationship line to come out. Okay, so it's out already. So if we just put our mouse on this line, we're going to see where the relationship has been made. So it's saying the relationship, the primary key we used there was dates for both tables. Dates for both tables. Now, if you can choose not to create a relationship with these tables, but why I'm creating a relationship is so that I don't have to put so much visual on my board, on my dashboard. I don't need to put different date stuff on my dashboard so that the person looking at it can just use one date visual to affect the remaining. So I'll go to the top at reports. Then I'm going to take a break and take one question. One question. So if you have a question, just raise up your hand and I will answer that. Every other person, you can ask a question in the chat box. So one question. Who is that? Do we have any question? Anybody want to ask a question? Sunday, go ahead. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Why we don't have to use countries is because the countries in Africa are different from the countries in Europe. Okay, so it makes no sense when you're trying to create a relationship between country and country. I mean, if the table was COVID deaths and COVID vaccination, if the tables we had there was COVID deaths and COVID vaccination, which we can choose to do, just that all our calculation we did on SQL, we'll be doing it on Power BI. If the tables were COVID deaths and COVID vaccination, then we can create a relationship using countries because the countries in COVID deaths are identical to the countries in COVID vaccination. Okay, we have all continents in COVID deaths and all continents in COVID vaccination. So we can choose to create a relationship using countries. But here, the countries in Africa are extremely different from the countries in Europe. But we know that the dates, both of them are using the same dates. So the dates in Africa is the same thing as the dates in Europe. I don't know if you understand that definition. All right. So I will be going ahead. All right. So the first stuff we want to do, the first stuff we want to do now is to bring the dates column because we'll be doing filtering with the dates. So oh, I think I made a mistake there. So we want to look at the stuff I'm using. So to do filtering on your table, you use a slicer, a visual called slicer. Okay, the highest infection count column and other columns after it in Europe table are empty. That is because they did not have, COVID-19 did not start at that particular date. If you scroll down, you'll find out that infection counts started at a particular date. That's because that was when COVID-19 entered that country. Okay, so why is blank at the top is because maybe in US, okay, so in US, infection count might have started earlier than any country in Europe. So you might be seeing that at 24th of February, there's an infection count in US. But as at 24th of February, there's no infection count in Europe. That's because COVID-19 has not found its way into Europe by that date. That's why it's blank. All right, so the South American table, change data type. Okay, I'll just do that quickly. So I think someone is having issues with table for South America. So we're going to load this. Um, quickly. Okay, load. Okay, so now I'll just be doing cleaning for South America, so I can actually see the stuff you're talking about there. So South America. Okay, mine is showing whole number. Death count. Okay, death count is showing text. So I want to transform this to whole number, right? Click on whole number. Okay, then I'll try to see. So I want to see the type of characters that are actually in highest death count. Uh, let's see. So I just clicked on the arrow. There's an arrow there. So scrolling down. Okay. So now at this point, we're going to use our Power Query. So we'll go to Home. So we want to first of all replace empty those null cells with zeros. So let's see where the problem is coming from. So we'll go to Home and we'll click on Transform Data. We'll click on Transform Data again. Then that should load Power Query for us. Then we click on South America. Then we'll go to highest death count. Then at the top here, we'll click on replace values. You see something like replace values at the top here. Click on replace values. What value do we want to replace? We say space. Replace space with 0. Then we'll click on OK. So let's see if that works. I think mine is loading. Yes, I think so, depending on your PC. Sometimes mine, the color changes because of my theme. It's always changing. So let's try that again. Okay, yeah. Okay, we can see the formula. Replace value type empty, that's empty space or null value with 0. So let's see if I should click on replace value again. Then I want to say null. Replace it with 0. Let's see. Okay. So let me see. So what I want to do is try and click on close, then apply. Okay, close and apply. And then let's see if that works for us. So if this doesn't work, I'm going to show you a very easy and quick way to do this using Excel, okay, which is very fast, extremely simple. Um, let's see. Okay, then we'll go to Home. Okay, column tools, yeah. So this highest death count, we try and change it to whole number. Okay, we try and change it to decimal number. Let's see. Okay, let's see whole number. Sorry, highest death count. And we'll click on yes. Okay, it's not still working. So let me show you a very easy way to do this using Excel. Okay, so use your Excel file to open where the document is. Say South America, right? This should open quickly. Yeah. So this is a very easy way to do this with Excel. So wherever that is, you would want to click on Control G. Okay, Control G. Open the Excel file on your system. It's on your system, wherever you loaded it from, where you saved it. Yeah. So click on Control G. Okay, Control A first to highlight everything on the table. Then you hold Control G. Then you're going to see something like Special. Click on Special. Then you go to Blanks. Click on Blanks. Then you click on OK. So it's going to highlight only the blank cells, as you can see. Then you write on just anyone that comes up, just write equals to 0. When you write equals to 0, hold your control key, then press enter. You see that it automatically replaces everything with zeros. Right? So everything now, all the blank cells are now zeros. All right? So you can click on, you can just write Control S. You can save it. Control S. It will ask you, do you want to use this CSV file? Yeah. Click on yes. Then that should be that. Then you can take this particular CSV file and load it to Power BI again. So that is what we call multiple data cleaning. Okay, there are different ways to do data cleaning. Then if you are not sure if this is a if this is still showing text or what they call it, if it's a text or number column, what I want you to do is click on E, just highlight everything on E, go to data at the top. Okay, go to view, sorry. Formulas, where is this thing? Where is this thing? Okay, general, just click on general here on your home bar here. You see general here, click on general. It will open a list of stuff. So you see general, number, currency, accounting, short date, long date, time, percentage. I'll click on number. So it should represent this as number. Okay, so once that is done, I want to, because this is highest infection count, I know that this is not decimal, it has to be count, either 1, 2, or 3. It cannot be 1.1. So I'll come to this sign here, and I'll click it once, and I'll click it twice. So it rounds it up to the nearest whole number. All right, then I'll click on save. Okay. Then I'll do the same thing for percent population deaths. Okay, percent population deaths. I'll do the same thing because it's in zeros and it might have been in a text format. So I'll go to general, click on number, then I'll round it up to its nearest whole number and save. Right, so that is that. That is how to do that data cleaning for the text column. So after you've done this, I want you to go back to Power BI, delete the South American table you have there, and load this new one you've saved. Okay, just load the new South American table. So that should handle that situation. If it's still showing text, let me see if there's any reason why it should be showing. Let me see. Okay, if it's still showing text, then I want you to transform it just using this option here. Okay, transform it to whole number. I think that should solve the issue for you. And most likely, it shouldn't be showing text. It should be showing whole number. All right. Since you've done the cleaning with Excel, it should be showing whole number. So that is that. All right. So I'm going to go back to our visual building. Let me see if I have any question on the chat box. Yes, it was SQL I used to separate it into continents. I sent the query, check the WhatsApp group. The query is on the WhatsApp group, Bolaji. You would see all the query I sent there. So instead of having the continent column, I just separated everything into continents, knowing that this table is for Africa, this table is for Europe. So maybe if CDC is asking for, hey, give me the column you have for Africa, I just want only Africa. I'll just send them Africa's spreadsheets. I could also send them Europe or whatever it is they're asking for. So, okay, is it not a standard rule to order by date first? There's no standard rule. Why I did not really care about ordering by date was because I know that Power BI was going to handle that situation for me. Okay, Power BI was going to handle that situation for me. So I did not even care about how ordered the dates were. So if I should do a line plot, I will know that Power BI will arrange it from January, February, March, April, May, June, July. That's the job of Power BI. So instead of making the work manual for me, I leave it to Power BI to do its job while I do my job. So I'm going to go to our first visual for the day. The first one is this slicer here. We're going to click on this slicer. Okay. We're going to click on slicer. So, all right. So for the slicer, we want to bring in the date column. So why I'm choosing, I could choose Africa or Europe, but why I'm choosing Africa, if you look at the two dates, you see that the one in Europe actually has something like a calendar sign there. So I'm sure that it's actually is actually recognized as a date. But the one in Africa is not showing the calendar sign. It's not that it's not dates, just that there's a relationship between Africa and Europe. And Africa was taken as the left table. Remember I talked about joins. Africa was taken as the left table, while Europe is taken at the right table. So I want to pick the one for Europe. So I'm going to click on expand this dates column here. I'll be seeing date hierarchy. So I want to click on date hierarchy, just that checkbox. I want to click on it. So we see that it's showing me year, quarter, month, and day. I'm not interested in the day. I'm not interested in the quarter. I'm only interested in the month and year. If we should choose day, we see that the plot is giving us information per day. And per day is too extremely specific. Okay, nobody is ready to go through daily reviews. They're only interested in summary per month. So I want to know, how did the infection count look like every month? So I'm going to cancel day. Then the next thing I want to cancel is quarter. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to cancel this view recovered files. It's disturbing my visuals. If you're having it, you can cancel it. Then click on no, remove the files. So that should settle that issue. Then if you look at it on our visual, we're having year and month. So we're having 2020, 2021, and 2022. If I choose to expand 2020, you see that we have January, February, March, April, May. Look at it. We have January, February, March, April, May, July, December, up to December. So it's very detailed for us now. Then I want to minimize that. So I've gotten my date slicer in check. Okay, I've gotten the date slicer in check. I don't want it so long. I just want it up to this particular place. So if you want your own so long, it's fine. It's your creativity that determines what you do. Then since that is settled, the next thing I want to go ahead to do is I want to go ahead to select, let's see, we want to put this in a map form. Okay, I want to view all the countries in Africa in a map form rather than having it listed down. Because if I have it listed down, the list will be so long, 56, and I'm not ready to scroll down. That's stress. Okay, since this is tech, we're trying to make things easy, right? So I'm going to click on map, this option here, map. For you to use this map, you need to be connected to the internet. So if you are not connected to the internet, it might not work for you. Okay, so click on map. Now there are two different maps there. You can choose any of them, but I just want to start with this one. So I'm going to expand this. Then what do I want to view here? I want to view the countries in Africa alone. Okay, so I'll drag country column to location. If your own is location, fine. Then I'll drag the other one again, the country again. I'll drag it to legend. Why I'm putting it to legend is because I don't want all the countries to be showing as blue. If you look at the screen, all the countries, the dots there are blue. It makes no sense. I can't even differentiate which one is which one. So I want it to be showing different colors. So I'm going to drag the country again to legend. And once I drop that inside the legend field, drop down. Thank you. Once I drop that into the legend field, we'll see that it's now different. Okay, it's looking extremely different. The countries now have different colors assigned to them. Okay. Okay. Give me a moment. I'm trying to. Okay, this is good. So now that I have this, the next thing I want to do is I can see that on top I'm seeing Algeria, Angola, Benin, Botswana. I want to remove that since I already have it in the map. I don't need that. So I'm going to come to this place here. This format your visual. This is where you edit your visual, change the color, change the fonts and all that. So we'll click on format your visual. Then I'm going to see something like legend. The legend is on, it's turned on. That stuff on top is called legend. It's showing you which icon belongs to which country, which icon belongs to which country. So we'll see multiple colors, maybe two colors belonging to two different countries, which is okay. At least that's fine, rather than one blue belonging to all the countries. So I'm going to turn off this legend, and we'll see that that stuff there on top will just go away. Yeah, very wonderful. Very wonderful. The next thing I want to do now is remove this stuff I'm seeing here, country by country and country. Even a blind man would know that this map is representing countries, right? We don't need to signify that or name that. So we'll go to general. You can see general here. We'll just turn off this title. We don't need the title. It's not relevant. So we'll turn it off. So that goes away. The country and country here has automatically gone away. Now, the next thing we want to do is, okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to look at the highest death count. We want to look at the highest death count. We want to see that in numbers. Okay, for all the countries in Africa, we want to see that in numbers. Okay, so this is, we're going to use a card. Okay, this card is for viewing numbers. It helps us view the total sum of something or the count of something. But before we do that, we want to look at the total countries in Africa, right? We want to know how many countries in Africa do we have. So we click on card. We'll just expand this. Then we bring this here again. Okay, the total countries in Africa we have. So we just drag country to the fields here. So when we drag country, it should be showing us Algeria first. But we know that that's not what we're looking for. So we'll click on this field, this drop-down sign here, this arrow under the fields, where first country is showing. Where my mouse is. When we click on it, we click on count distinct. why we are choosing count distinct, like I explained yesterday, we don't want Algeria to be counting multiple times. We don't want Algeria to count, because in our table, we're seeing Algeria, Algeria, Algeria. We don't want it to be counting 1, 2, 3, 4. It might give us 1,000 countries. Let me show you. If I choose count, the countries might not be up to 50, might not be 56. It will be more than. Let's see what that gives us. We can see 54,000 countries, which makes no sense, right? So that's why we are choosing count distinct. We wanted to count the unique countries we have in Africa. So it will see Algeria as Algeria 1. It will see Angola as 2. It will see Nigeria as 3. So that's why we're having 56 countries here. Then the next thing we want to do is look at the highest infection count. We want to see that in numbers for the countries in Africa. So if we choose, we're going to choose card 2. Then we drag this here. The next thing we just do is highest infection count. Okay, highest infection count. We drag it to the fields. So everything we're doing, we're dragging it to the fields. So we'll drop that in the fields. Then it's going to be showing us 7 billion highest infection counts, which possibly makes no sense because it's adding for it's adding 1st of January, 2nd of January for all the countries in Africa. So which makes no sense. So we're looking for we are looking for so we are looking for okay. So we are looking for just the unique counts. We don't want everything to be added simultaneously from 2020 to 2022 all together. We're looking for the highest count. So let's look at maximum. Let's see what maximum gives us. So 4 million. So this makes sense, right? So that means it's telling us that from 2020 to 2022, 4 million Africans were infected by COVID-19 from 2020 to 2022. So we want to now look at, out of these 4 million that were infected, how many of them actually died from COVID-19? So we are going to click on card again. Okay, so how many of them actually died from COVID-19? We're going to drag highest death count to the fields. So now 150 million can be correct because the infection count is 4 million. So we say maximum death count. So the highest death count so far that was recorded for Africa, that should be showing us, let's see, 102,000. Okay, 102,000. But from our analysis using SQL, I'm not sure if this figure is correct. So I want to switch this to, let's see, counts. Okay. Let me see some. Okay, we're going to leave this as. Okay, the highest infection count, not in a year, is from 2020 to 2022. Okay, I'm going to show you how to view it in a year. Okay, to know the table that is left or right in an SQL environment. The first table you are calling, that is select this and that from COVID deaths. COVID deaths will now be the left table. Left join COVID vaccination. COVID vaccination becomes the right table. That's how you know if which one is left table and which one is right table. So here we're going to select maximum, highest infection count, maximum. Right. So highest death count, sorry, we'll select it as maximum. Then if we want to view for a particular year, we'll just come to this year and month. Okay, come to this year and month, select 2020. You see that everything changes. Everything begins to change. So 2020, we had 1 million. Then 28,000 people in Africa died. Then only 55 countries were recorded from 2020. That's why the count of country reduced by 1. 28,000 people died, 11 million were infected, and only 55 countries were recorded. Then if we say for 2021, we'll see that the figures will change. So for 2021, we can see only 55 countries were also recorded. Then 3 million people were infected, which means that there was a 300% increase in the infection count for Africa. And the death rate actually tripled. Yeah, the death rate in Africa actually tripled. Okay, so we can see that 91,000 people died in Africa. Then if we look at 2022, we would see that the information increased from 55 countries to 56 countries. Okay, which means that as of 2022, 4 million people, total of the maximum people that were infected, were like 4 million people. So if 4 million people were infected, that means 102 people, actually 102,000 people died. So if we want to look at the sum for these 3 years, we would just come here to our visuals. Okay, we're going to select on this year month table. Then we'll go to format visuals. Then slicer setting. We want to set it in a way that we can do multiple selects and select all. So we're going to say select all. The option for select all should be opened. So we can go ahead to select all here. So we want to see the information for these 3 years. Let's see how that changes. So the information for these 3 years telling us that as at 2022, all the information have been collected were reported for 2022, which means that there were no changes in 2022, or the change was not even significant for Africa. So if we want to do the same for Europe, we'll just have to repeat the same process. But the next thing we want to do now is represent these numbers in a plot. The next thing we want to do now is represent these numbers in a plot. So I will take questions for how far we've gone now. For how far we've gone, I'll just take questions. Okay. Controlling comes from the settings, but there's so many options to click after that. I don't know which. Okay, go ahead, please. Who has a question? I think someone is about saying something. I can't hear you. I was not getting you, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, go ahead. Okay. Okay, why I did not use some was because Some is adding every month, and every time a country is repeated, it just adds everything from 2020 to 2022. Okay, so it's not actually giving us the different options for that year. Okay, let me try and look. And we know that in Africa, they're not up to 7 billion people. Actually, we have like 7 billion people in the world. So Africa shouldn't be up to 7 billion people. So even if we're having infection rates, the infection rate shouldn't even be up to 4 billion. Okay, because infection rates in Europe alone, from our SQL table, infection rate in Europe alone is like, I think, 100 and something million. So for Africa, it shouldn't be 7 billion. The calculation will be wrong. So our SQL already give us what to expect. So Power BI is going to give us a rounded view, but SQL tells you what to expect and what not to go with using Power BI. I don't know if that makes sense to you. All right. So, okay. Okay. So if you're having that option on your laptop, if you're having that issue on your laptop, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go to File. So just follow what I'm doing on my screen. I think it's coming up. Yeah, go to File, then look for Options and Settings. When you select that, click on the first one, Options. So you wait a little while that opens up for you. Okay. Then go to Security. So when you scroll down in Security, you're going to see Map and Field Map Visuals. Select that checkbox. It will be telling you use Map and Field Map Visuals. So select the checkbox. Then you are going to see another option. Yeah, use ArcGIS for Power BI. Then you can press OK. So the ArcGIS is for we that are kind of connected to the Power BI service. So you don't need to select that one. So you can just click on OK. Then delete that visual you've done before, then put it again. That should work. Okay. So okay, I'm here. Okay, I've just done that. Okay. Can you hear me? I just did that. Can anybody hear me? Yeah, go ahead. Is your internet connected? Okay, I think that should be slow internet connection. Yes, I think that should be a slow internet connection. The cleaning I did for the location, and country. When I selected and changed it to be recognized as a country, did you do that? Did you do that? Okay, then it should be a slow internet connection. It should be a slow internet connection. Yeah. So so what I want to do now, what I want to do now is I want to look at the countries with the top infection rate in Africa, the top 10 countries with the top infection rate and death rate in Africa. Okay. Then I'm going to select this line and stacked column charts. Okay, that's what I'm going to select, line and stacked column charts. So once I click on that, it should bring up a chart for me. I will just, okay, sorry, we can change this to clustered column charts. Let's change it to clustered column charts. I will do a separate chart for line. So what I want to do now is I want to look at infection rates and death rates at once, all at once. Okay, infection rates and death rates all at once. So I want to drag this country column here. Okay, I want to look at that for Europe. Sorry, not for Africa, that for Europe, okay? So I'm going to drag Europe's country on the x-axis, okay? The country column for Europe on the x-axis. Then I'm going to drag, let me see. Okay. Then the next thing I want to do is highest death count, sorry, highest infection count. I'm going to drag it to the y-axis. Then highest death count, I'm going to drag it to small multiples. Okay, let me use this is gonna go. Okay, let me use same y-axis. Okay, good. So now we can see that these stuffs are very small because it's showing information for almost all the countries in Europe. So I kept the highest infection counts and highest death counts on the same y-axis because I want to look at both of them simultaneously. But while doing that, I know that this information won't be correct because if you look at France, France is telling us that we have 12 million people that were infected. Okay, 12 million people that were infected. So for all the countries in Europe, I want to just view for the top 10 countries, not all the countries in Europe, just the top 10 countries. So I know I have to filter it by I have to filter it by something. And I want to filter it by highest infection count because highest infection count is, we know that it's more than death count. So we want to filter it by highest infection count, which means that the country that has the highest infection count in Europe will simultaneously have the highest death count in Europe. Okay. So we want to drag this highest infection count on this filters pane here. I don't know if you can see my mouse. On the filter pane here, and we'll drag it on add data fields here for the filter, just under sum of highest infection count. We drop that there. Then we look at the countries. We want to now see this country now. We don't want to view everything. We're going to select this filter stuff, the drop-down option here. Click on basic filtering. Okay. Okay, click on basic filtering. Then the next thing we want to do is we want to select the top 10, right? Then after basic filtering, we'll just click on top N. It's telling us top N. So here we'll just write top 10. Okay. Then it will ask us by value. What value do you want to select the top 10 with? We'll say by highest infection count. So we'll drag highest infection count here and drop it here. So we'll say apply filter. So once we apply filter, we'll see that this is loading. It should select the top 10 for us. So we can see the top 10 countries arranged from the highest to the lowest in descending order. So we can see France, Germany, United Kingdom, Russia, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, Poland, Ukraine, and Czech Republic. If you go on Google and write the top 10 countries that were infected with COVID-19, it should show you these top 10 countries. This is what you'll be seeing. All right. So now that we have seen the top 10 countries, what we want to see now is we want to see how this infection rate has increased from how this infection count has increased from 2020 to 2022. Okay. We want to see how it has increased in 2020, how it has increased in 2022, and how it has increased in 2021. All right. So we are going to select a line chart. Why we are using a line chart? Because we are looking at trends over time. Okay, anything you are looking for over time, the change of something over time, you have to use a line chart. All right, so we'll select line chart. So we'll just minimize this to separate this a little. Line charts. Then your x-axis for a line chart has to be time. It has to be that date. It must be date. Your x-axis for a line chart has to be dates because that's what you are grouping your data with. So we'll put dates under the x-axis, and we know that we don't want to view this information by quarter and by day. So we're going to cancel quarter and day. Right? We're going to cancel quarter and day. So what are the information that we want to see? We want to see the increase of highest death count and highest infection count. So we're going to drag highest infection count to the y-axis, and then we are going to drag highest death count to the secondary y-axis. If you should put both of them in the y-axis, your visuals won't be corresponding with each other. So we want to view both infection counts and death counts together. All right, so we'll drop highest infection count, highest death count in the secondary y-axis. So that should be that. So we see another line popping up in this chart. So we can see how the line has popped up in the chart. Then you will see that when it was 914 infection count, 914 million, which practically makes no sense because the infection count shouldn't be 914 million, right? So we are looking at let's see maximum. Let's see how the maximum trend looks like. Good. Now we change the highest death count to maximum. All right, so we can see how this has increased. If we look at the infection count, 6 million. As of July 2021, it was 6 million. Then it goes up to 37 million. That means as at December 2022, we are seeing the highest infection count is 38 million people. Then the highest death count is as a 384,000 people have died. So if you want to select this for France, we want to see this information just for France alone. So we can see how the trend line goes for France, how it has increased over time. How it has increased over time. So as at as at December 2022, we can see that France is 38 million people were infected. Then the people that died were 159,314. Okay. If we select for another country, let's say Germany, we'll see how the trend line will change for Germany. So we'll see how the trend lines are just changing for each country. Then if we select for Czech Republic, which is the lowest here, we'll see how the trend line would also change. So we're seeing how the trend line changes per country. So when we decide to change the country, we'll see that the trend line also changes for that country. But if I should select Czech Republic again, you would see that the trend line resets back to that of Europe. So what we're seeing here now is for Europe. But when you select a country on this clustered column chart, the trend line changes to that particular country, as we can see here. So I can do a comparative analysis using this trend line by putting on that trend line for Africa. Okay, I can do this by putting on that trend line for Africa. All I just need to do is delete this information here. Delete this information here. Because all this information, I can view this using the line plots. So I'll drag this up here. Then I'll minimize this a little bit. Then also I'll try to minimize this a little bit. Then next thing I want to do now is put another line plot here for Africa. Then for Africa now, what I just need to do is put this date column in the x-axis. Okay, put this date column for Europe. Remember I said we can use the date column of Europe for both Africa too. So we'll put this here. Then we'll cancel the day and the quarter, because we need just the year and the month. So I can take the highest infection counts. I can put this on the y-axis. The highest death count, I can put this on the secondary y-axis. Then I can change this to max, because I don't want to look at the sum. I want to look at the maximum, how high it was at every month. At the end of every month, what was the highest amount they had? At the end of every month, what was the highest amount they have? Then I'll now change this sum of highest death counts, change it to maximum 2. Okay, I'll wait for that to change. Now, if I should select one country in Africa, let's select Nigeria from this map. Select one country in Africa, like Nigeria, we'll see that the trend line changes for this particular line plot here. So we'll see how the trend line changes for Nigeria. Then if I should select, let's say Algeria, Algeria is we're close to the Mediterranean Sea. All right, so it has changed for Algeria. If I should select Madagascar, just down here, we're seeing how Madagascar changes. Okay, if I should select, let's see, Namibia, we are seeing how Namibia also changes in this plot. Okay, so this is a comparative analysis. So we can say, let us view for that of Africa as a whole. Then let us view for that of Europe as a whole. So we want to say, this is how the line plot looks for Africa. This is how the line plot looks for Europe. So if you look at the figures here, as of December, we are saying 4 million. Remember at that stuff we did, the card, when we're looking at the total infection rate and total death rates. So this is it using a graph. It's still 4 million here. The highest death count was 102 million, 22nd of December. Then for Europe, highest death count is 384,000. Sorry, 384,000 for December 2022. All right. So the next thing I would like to do is click on the line plot for Africa, then go to Format Visuals. Then I want to look at Zoom Slider. I want to put a Zoom slider where I can select the dates anytime I like any part of the dates I want to look at. I want to look at January to February. I can use the Zoom slider to do that. Remember the Zoom slider we saw from where we downloaded the charts. So that was what they did there using the same Zoom slider. So I want to remove the Zoom slider of the Y-axis. I don't need that. I just need that for only the dates. So that is gone. Then I want to do the same thing for the line plots used for Europe. Turn on the Zoom slider and remove the Y-axis. So if I should say I want to view from January 2021 to, for Africa, January 2021 to July 2021, this is how it looks using a Zoom slider. So you see that it has reduced because I'm only viewing from a particular time to a particular time. Then if I should put this back, you see how the chart changes pertaining to the Zoom slider. That's how the chart changes. So I can say insert for different countries where we're going to see different lines of graph, just like we saw when we downloaded the data from. So this is the top 10 countries with the highest infection and death rates. Then this is their line plot. Then this is the line plot for Africa. So we can select for each country using the map in Africa, using this map that we've done here, because we're more concerned about Africa. So we want to use their trend map and compare it to that of Europe's trend map. All right, so these are basic visuals, but this communicates a lot because from here you can look at the total death infection rate for Mauritius. Okay, the maximum death rate for Mauritius. So we can say as at 2021, we saw that there was no infection, there was no spike in infection rate for Mauritius from March 2020 up to July 2021. It was not even much. They had just 4,000 people infected and 20 people died. But this figure started going up as of October 2021, whereby 22,000 people were infected and 176 people died. So it went up again, December 2021, 68,000 people were infected, 786,000 people died, 786 people died. Then at December 2022, 281,000 people have been infected and 1,036 people have died. So we can see that Mauritius, it keeps going up. So Mauritius have an issue with keeping to maybe distance policy or wearing face masks or maybe using hand sanitizer. Then if we look at Nigeria, which is our country, we can see that Nigeria already have their own issues from the start. February 2020, one person was infected, nobody died. So that's why we're not seeing any figure for infection rate as at then, for death rate as at then. Then by 2021, October, 11,000 people have been infected. 2,896 people have already died. Fast forward down to this current month, 266,000 people have been infected and 3,155 people have died. We saw this figure using our SQL table. using our SQL queries. All right. So we can actually view this information using the map. No need to start writing SQL queries. And you can view this for all the countries in Africa at once. 4 million people, 102,000 people have died. So this is a basic visual that communicates a lot. I could go on, do this stuff for a month and keep finding different information like vaccination rates. I could see how many people were admitted to the hospital in a particular month, how many mortality rates, what is the percentage mortality rate we had for a particular month. So I could keep doing this stuff for months and even 1 year. Just that is how data analysts for the NCDC, Control and Disease Center, this is what they do for since 2020. This is what they've been doing, analyzing the information and giving advice to the country or continent they're doing the analysis for. So you can use South America, North America, and do the same analysis compared to countries, and you still be getting the same insights or different insights, multiple insights on what you can advise them to do and what you can advise them not to do. So I'm going to take questions. If you have questions, please go ahead and ask, because I know there are questions regarding these visions. Does anybody have any question? So after this, every single finding, everything you're finding out, anything you're looking out through your data, you have to write it down. Okay, this is what I'm finding out. As of 2020, this is what is happening. As of 2021, this is what is happening. As of 2022, France came down from the country with the highest infection rates, down to the third country with the highest infection rates. As of 2020, they were actually the highest. As of 2021, Germany were the highest. As at 2022, Nigeria became the lowest country in Africa with the highest infection rates. So you could use your visuals to move around that. Then you can say, since Nigeria moved from the highest in 2020 to the third highest in 2022, they've been adhering to this strict distance policy, taking their vaccinations, and they've been looking at wearing of face masks and hand sanitizers more seriously than South Africa, that came from the 10th highest to the highest in 2022. So you can now tell South Africa, okay, looking at your data and that of Nigeria, we can see that you started going down in taking of vaccination, you started going down in adhering to keeping the distance policy. That is why you've gone up to the country in Africa with the highest infection rates. So this is what we would advise you to do. And every month, we would like you to submit your data, your COVID-19 records, to the NCDC for South Africa for monthly review, so that we can advise you on what to do and what not to do. Okay, so that is just a simple analysis, something you could advise the country on the steps they could take. Okay, I hope I've been able to answer your question. Okay, so for the hackathon projects that were given to us, this is the same approach you could take for the hackathon project, because you were already given the problem statement. The problem statement has been given to you. You don't need to formulate anyone. You can just go ahead to build your visuals around the problem statements. So they are looking at health crisis in Africa. What causes health crisis? Automatically, you know that is lack of medical personnel, lack of good healthcare facilities, and a very low health expenditure. That means they spend really low in taking care of their maybe hospital facilities and so on and so forth. And If you now look at the diseases or the reason why people are dying, it is because of HIV/AIDS or because of cardiovascular reasons. You will know that definitely suicide or death by hanging has nothing to do with health crisis. But if you're looking at HIV, if you're looking at cardiovascular disease, if you're looking at meningitis, this has stuff to do with health crisis, which means they have little or no medical personnel to take care of that particular sickness at that particular time. So you can now use the dates to look at how the death rate for meningitis has increased in Africa. You can use the line plot to look at how HIV/AIDS deaths has increased in Africa. And we know that in Africa, HIV/AIDS keeps increasing in countries like Kenya, in countries like Malawi, in countries like Sierra Leone. But in Nigeria, it might have like a stable line. You might not really see a visible increase because Nigeria, South Africa have good healthcare facilities compared to other countries in Africa. So you might see an increase for the deaths for particular diseases in really underdeveloped countries in Africa. But when we're talking about suicidal rates or deaths by execution, you can't say that that's a reason for health crisis. It has nothing to do with health crisis. That might be because of depression or whatever. But that is more of a mental crisis. Has nothing to do with your health per se, what your doctors can give you drugs for, We are looking at direct health crisis, things that has to do with the blood or maybe, just basic health crisis, meningitis, maybe you're having cancer, stuff like that. So that's a direct relationship with the health or health expenditure of a particular country. Okay, so I don't know if anybody has any question. Please ask your questions. Ask your questions. Okay, and also I'm going to be sharing my visuals to everyone. These visuals I just did, I'll be sharing to everyone in the group. I'm going to paste the file on the group so that you can use this visual to actually generate insights. Okay, let's say you are the communications data analyst, not the dashboard builder. So how would you use this information that your dashboard builder has done? How would you, as a communication analyst, what would you do? What kind of insights would you communicate to your boss so that your boss can tell the NCDC on what you were able to find? So I'm going to share this visual, this Power BI file with everyone. All you just have to do is when you download it, double click it. It will automatically open Power BI and show you this visual. You don't have to do anything. Everything is already done. So does anybody have any question? Does anybody have any question? Sorry? Okay, I'm not signed in now. I'm not signed in now to my Power BI service account. Yep, I'm not signed in now. Okay, I am going to make a video on that and I'll share it to you guys on the YouTube page. Okay, because that's a process. So yeah, I have to make a video on that. That should be like 10 minutes. It should be done. All right, all right, all right. Okay, I have a message on the group. Let me see. Okay, is someone? Hi, hi, Shifa. Okay, that is a very nice question. So once that is updated on the CDC website, it's only for those having the Power BI service account. There are two ways you can actually do that. You have to, for we data scientists, we do what we call data pipeline. Okay, you need to have a data pipeline, which is done by the data engineer. All right, so as you are, you already have your codes in place that does the data cleaning, that does data extraction. So it just automatically pushes it to the Power BI service, which is picked up by the Power BI developer. All right, so the person's job is just to pick up the data and put it on the Power BI service. Then the other way you can do that is by leaving your dashboard the way it is. Okay, once you have downloaded the new data, you can just follow the same cleaning process you did before. Rename the file the same way. Then you just have to update the file on Excel, save it on Excel, saying, okay, I have extracted a new data set. Then all you just have to do is reload the data on Power BI and replace the column names, everything one after the other. That shouldn't take time because you've done your visuals already, right? Then once you're updating the column names, it should just be, you just see the visuals taking effect by themselves. The visuals should just be taking automatic effect by themselves. So there are two ways you can actually do that. Then there is a third way you can do that, which is a long process using AWS, right? Amazon Web Services. So that's like a different process entirely, strictly for data engineers because they have a good understanding of the service. So you are extracting the data using SQL, then you are using the cloud-based, let's say MongoDB or Amazon Redshift to handle your database effects and all that. So you are doing everything on the cloud. But I would say the best way for you to do it is the second method I talked about, doing your cleaning on Excel, then just manually pushing it to Power BI. And since you are the data analyst that deals with the dashboard, that should actually be your job description. So you're just manually pushing it on Power BI after doing your cleaning with Excel. So that's one of the ways to go about it. All right. Okay. Do we have any other question? So you might be wondering why the visuals are so simple. You might be wondering why the visuals are so simple. That's because the aim is to give you an idea of how to handle this project. Okay. Now, using this same method I've taught you, if you look at page 1 just below here, you'll see add new page. Now you can add a new page and do the same thing for North America. So you can use one page for one continent, one page for one continent. You can have a total of 6 pages. Then after you've done that, you can just save your documents. Let's save it at the top here. Okay, so that is you have done analysis for 6 different countries. You can now export it as a PDF file. So if you want to export it as a PDF file, you come to File here. Okay, I hope you can see my. You come to File here, then you click on Export. Export. So you see Export to CDF to PDF. So your file is being exported to a PDF. Okay, so whenever I'm publishing a file, I always export to PDF, whereby I can have my own PDF file and look at it on my phone, even if I'm on the road. So you can export it to PDF. It will now save on your phone. The visuals you've done will be saved on your system as a PDF file. Okay, so you can use that PDF file. That is what you are now going to put on your GitHub portfolio. You take a screenshot of it, put it on your GitHub portfolio, or you can send it to LinkedIn page by page as a PDF file so that people would actually see the work you've done on LinkedIn as a PDF. It will be shown as a PDF, visible to everybody. So that's one of the ways you can export your project. But I'm going to make a video concerning this on YouTube for this project so that you can have a practical idea of how it's done. Okay, putting a video on passing by. Okay, it's actually not illegal. This was the process. The process was given by Microsoft themselves. Okay, so it's not illegal, don't worry. It's not illegal because the process you'll be following is given by Microsoft developer account. Microsoft has given everybody a developer account. As long as you're using Power BI, you have access to a developer account. Okay, so the email address that you'll be given by Microsoft will be at Outlook, something at outlook.com. So I'm going to open. So, okay, there is what we're going to do. If you are interested in publishing your stuff to Power BI, please send me a message on WhatsApp. Then from your name, I'm going to see your email address, and I'm going to give you license to my company's to my academy's developer account, okay, so that you can publish to Power BI. Okay, but I'm also going to release a video. So I'm going to give you access to my academy's developer account. I'll just add you as a user to my academy's developer account so that you can just bypass the whole process. But I'll also release a video so you can have an idea of how it's done by yourself and all that. Right. Okay. So Bello, don't worry, you're not doing anything illegal. Okay, you're safe. You're safe. You're not doing anything illegal. All right, so I hope I've been able to answer questions for today. Please, if there's any other question, you can ask. But if you have any question that you're not able to answer here, please, when I put the YouTube account, when I put the YouTube video, all you just have to do is write your question on the comment box, and I'm going to reply you. My team will reply you. I have someone in charge of the YouTube account. The person is going to reply you immediately. The person is also a data analyst. The person will reply you as soon as possible. So if you have questions concerning the visuals that were done, go ahead and ask your question on the YouTube account. Right. So I'm going to end this recording.